Welcome to Specific Love. If you've ever been to the hardware store and looked at the hammer section, my goodness, there are so many different kinds of hammers. So for this video, I want to show you 10 great hacks that you can do with your hammer. In today's time, a hammer, well, that's a necessity in about anybody's home. But you don't need all the expensive like tool belts and things to carry it and all the accessories around. To carry your hammer, here's a very simple way. Get you a basic carabiner, get you a zip tie, or cable tie, whatever you call it, attach them together. And you want to take your hammer and you place it into the zip tie, like so. Take your carabiner and attach it to one of your belt loops, just like that. And now, you can easily carry your hammer, whether it's up the stairs or up a ladder, wherever you need to take it. Whenever you use a hammer trying to tap some things together, in this case I'm just using some PVC pipe, well, you have to be really gentle, or you can easily crack if it's the plastic, or you can put large dents into it. And I have a great way to help prevent that. This is one of those footers you put on some of your furniture, just on the bottom of the leg to keep it either sturdy on the ground or from scratching up maybe your hardwood floors. Now if you size it just right for your hammer, get it on there, now you can easily tap whatever you need, and you just create yourself a little rubber mini mallet. Now by doing that, you can hit your stuff a little bit harder. You don't have to worry about putting dents. It may have a little rubber residue you can wipe off, but that way you can tap your stuff whatever you need with a lot more force, and you don't have to worry about breaking it. It's a great way to make a little mini mallet. Anytime you plan on using some caulk or some silicone, it's always best to have the right tool at hand. Make sure you have a caulking gun. But if for some reason your caulking gun gets broken or you don't have it, you can always cut the end just like normal. And then if you have a hammer with a nice round flat end, as this one does, you can then take it and put it inside. And it will take a little extra work, but then you can take it and you can push really hard, and it's just a makeshift silicone gun. You can easily get your stuff out and do your job if you have to. Whenever you go camping, it's always a great idea to turn some of your larger pieces of wood into some small kindling so you can easily get your fire started. Now, of course, I do recommend using some kind of an axe or maybe a hatchet or something along those lines so you can chop up your wood easily. But if by chance you have broken your axe or you just forgot it or left it somewhere and lost it, if you happen to carry some tools around, especially a hammer with one of these rib claws, you can easily turn that wood into some nice kindling. It's a great way to use a hammer in place of an axe. Whenever you're trying to remove a nail from a piece of wood, or anything for that matter, you grab your hammer, you take the claw, and you try and pull it up. But in some cases, you gotta be extra careful about the surface that it's on. Now, in some cases, you can use a sponge or a piece of paper, but that requires you to use two hands just to operate the hammer. Well, sometimes you need to hold the surface or hold whatever you're doing, so you need almost a third hand to do it. In this case, I have an easier way. If you take a nice thick rubber band, and you wrap it around your hammer. Now if you notice here, I got it crisscross, and I do that to just give it a little extra added protection. You want it to be pulled fairly tight and fairly down the claw here as you can get it. And by doing that, you can now reach over, grab and remove that nail, and it added just an extra layer of protection to that surface it was on. If you're hammering a bunch of nails in place, I have a great way to help hold those extra nails. You actually take a high-powered magnet and you can attach it to the bottom of your hammer. I've done it on this one. Now if you see here, I actually used a washer on the outside and held everything in place and screwed it in with a nice screw. And that holds it nice and tight right in place there. Now I have a washer on the outside because even though these magnets look pretty strong and metallic, they're actually kind of weak. I only bumped this one magnet around a few times and, well, it cracked into two pieces. So by adding the washer, now when you put everything on it, it's like a little protection layer on top of the magnet. You're less likely to actually break the magnet. Now, you can go out and use that hammer, and as you see, those nails are on there tight. You don't have to worry about those coming off. It's a great way to store your nails. Depending on where you live, sometimes the ground can be real hard on the surface, and if you're trying to dig a hole, it can just be a little difficult to start with a shovel. If you happen to have one of these rib claw hammers, it can make easy work at least of the surface. Whenever you're putting nails in a wall, sometimes you need to find a stud and sometimes you want to avoid the stud. But before you put extra holes in a wall trying to do just that, if you take some strong magnets and you want to run them just barely above the surface of the wall here. And if you keep going back and forth, eventually you're going to find either one of the screws or nails that was originally put into the wall to hold it directly to the stud. Now you know what a stud is, so now you can either hit it with the nail or you can avoid it. That's just a great way to keep from putting extra holes in your wall.
Have you ever had one of those moments where you don't have any bottle openers, but you're trying to get, into this case, a root beer bottle? Well, go find a hammer. It works great. There you go.
Over time, as your hammer gets worn, it can easily start to camouflage itself or with the surrounding. Maybe you have a bunch of dirt on it, it's laid on the ground, you can't find it, or if it's amongst a bunch of boards and you just can't notice it. So what you're going to do is then take some reflective tape and you want to wrap it towards the top part of the handle up here. That way you still have a nice, good, firm grip down bottom, but this way, your hammer, just about no matter where you put it, is going to have a really distinctive color and look to it, and that way you don't have to worry about losing it. Now if you enjoyed those ideas, make sure you click the like button, tell us what you think about it in the comments, and I'll see you in the next video.